We'll be getting a bombshell open UFO hearing very, very soon. Is your soul ready for this? This one will be reminiscent of the July 26, 2023 hearing with Grusch, Graves, and Fravor. At least that's my impression. Yeah, we're talking big time, prime time, capiche? This should not be confused with the upcoming UAP hearing in the Senate, slated for this month, featuring Arrow's new head, Dr. John Kozlowski, which Senator Kirsten Gillibrand recently commented on. So we're getting two hearings relatively soon. Deuces. The hearing I'm focusing on in this video, however, will be chaired by Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, as confirmed by Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida. There's a chance Lou Elizondo will be a witness in this upcoming hearing, and we'll get into that prospect later. Booyah. On September 13th, journalist Matt Laszlo spoke with Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee about this upcoming hearing. And here is one comment he made about it, and I quote, "I think Mace really has a grasp of the issue. She asked the tough questions the last time. She has a history with this, and she's known in the UAP UFO community, much like Luna is. They ask the tough questions, and I'm not afraid of a lady being chairman," end quote. He also stated, as I understand it, that they will have some good quality witnesses for this upcoming hearing. As for Representative Nancy Mace, who will be chairing this upcoming hearing, let me tell you, that woman don't play. Check out this clip from the July 26, 2023 hearing, where she questioned one of the witnesses, David Grusch.
You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to level with you all. I decided when I made this video that I'd be a little over the top, a little boisterous, just because the Spirit of God pushed me in that direction, pushed me to put on this hat. If you don't like this approach, then let me know in the comments that you'd prefer a more serious tone and depiction, or if you like me being a little goofy. But I must tell you that even if a large amount of you say you don't like it, I don't know how much I can tone it down, because frankly, I'm a little nutty. But maybe I won't wear this hat the whole time. But anyways, on September 11th, Matt Ford, the host of the Good Trouble Show, had a great episode where he interviewed Sarah Gamm, who was on the UAP task force. And in this following clip, he goes into what he expects from this upcoming hearing that will be chaired by Nancy Mace.
Of course, I mentioned the UAP hearing coming up. That's a big thing. I know of some of the people that will be testifying, and I think it's going to be big, and it will be something that members of Congress, we'll say the members of Congress that are not friendly to this subject, will be impossible to ignore. I can also say to members of the Pentagon and the intelligence community that are watching this, day of reckoning is coming.
So Matt Ford knows some of the people that are going to be testifying. I know of one of the people that will be testifying, and I will share that with you in a little bit later. And he also said that regarding the upcoming hearing with the chairwoman, Nancy Mace, that members of Congress not friendly to this subject, it will be impossible for them to ignore this hearing. So my interpretation is the last time the UAP Disclosure Act was up for passage, there were members within the House of Representatives that pressured the passage of this bill, and which resulted in key parts of it not getting passed. Now it's up for passage yet again, and members of Congress are trying to ensure that the parts that did not get passed last time get passed this time. And later, which I didn't include, Matt says that it's up to you. And he was referencing the Pentagon, the Department of Energy, and the intelligence community, how this goes, whether it goes well or not. Because Matt said this is all coming out, whether it goes well or not. And he also said that people will be held accountable, mark my words. So he's saying that this is coming out. And part of it coming out is going to be this upcoming hearing, and what this upcoming hearing will lead to, and the process, the disclosure process we're in right now. And so my interpretation from that is that the IC, the DOE, and the Pentagon, they can either help facilitate this coming out and look like the good guys, right? Or they can continue to the last moment standing in opposition to this coming out and ultimately be perceived as obstructing the Constitution and the will of the people and the will of Congress. So really, it's kind of in their court how this unfolds and how they'll be perceived in the annals of history. Now, in the following clip, Sarah Gamm, who is a current intelligence analyst and former National Geospatial Intelligence Agency employee who was part of the UAP task force, was asked by Matt Ford why she came forward to discuss the reality of UAP.
Why are you doing this?
My first gut response is why not? It's kind of given me a lot of courage lately with Lou Elizondo's book that came out. It was, the ending of that really helped me light a match and want to talk and to help validate and maybe help give somebody else courage to come out as well. With James Fox's film coming out as well, it's just, I don't know if I believe it's the right time, but the stars have aligned right now, and why not? Yeah.
Why not?
A theme that I have repeated over and over again on my channel is that there is strength in numbers. Now, Sarah Gamm said that Lou Elizondo's book contributed to her decision to come forward, speaking soberly about UAP. Her perspective on the situation contradicts the narrative the U.S. government is trying to sell us all. And she was part of the UAP task force, highly cleared. And so Lou Elizondo's book influenced her to come out, and she referenced specifically the last portion of his book, one of the later portions of his book, and that was an amazing portion of his book. I don't remember the name of the chapter, but Lou talks about how it was so psychologically difficult for him to know the reality of UAP, that we are not alone. We are being engaged by non-human intelligence, and everyone in this world is essentially oblivious and ignorant to that fact, and he could not live with that. And that is a big part of what drove him to come out of the government, even though he had a cushy, lucrative job with a really nice pension. He put his whole family in financial trouble to be able to alert the American public, and indeed the world at large, that we are not alone. We are being engaged by non-human intelligence. And so that him coming out on October 11th, 2017, I think it was like about a week. He came out publicly about a week after he left the Pentagon. We can't really separate that from Sarah Gamm coming forward. And then I would argue Sarah Gamm coming forward and the upcoming hearing that's going to happen fairly soon is going to lead to even more people coming forward. And that's going to lead to more people coming forward. And it just doesn't end. The government has lost control of the issue. The lies and obfuscation is coming to an end. They can try, right? They can try to persist with the narrative that it's an unknown unknown versus a known unknown, and we just don't know. We got to get more information, and we don't know what it is, and they can try to do that. But how are they going to succeed at doing that when highly cleared and credentialed people keep coming out of the government, contradicting their narrative? How are they going to persist with that? I would argue that is a national security threat, because if we cannot trust our government, then how can the government govern?
Well, what are you finding under there UAP-wise?
UAP-wise?
Yeah.
In the ocean?
Yeah.
So, again, I only know of the examples I've just shared, and then there's some classified examples I can't talk about that I know of. Basically, like you see in the atmosphere, you see large craft, different shapes. The reports have been different lighting configurations sometimes, and so yes, it seems to be the variety of the nature. It seems to be as diverse as it is up in the atmosphere. That's what seems to come through. And again, if we've seen so much through the published literature and then the documented accounts recently, then there may be, not just maybe the tip of the iceberg.
So I can confirm that Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet will be in the upcoming hearing with Chairwoman Nancy Mace. Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, he was the former Deputy Acting NOAA Administrator, NOAA, from 2017 to 2021, and a former oceanographer of the Navy from 2014 to 2017. He has a PhD. So he's going to be one of the people that is going to testify in one of these upcoming hearings that's going to happen soon. That was interesting what he said. He said there's some classified examples that he can't talk about. So in that sense, I would argue he is a first-hand witness if he's seen classified information firsthand. He may not be a first-hand witness in the way many people desire, but he is in some sense. He said that there's large crafts of different shapes that are seen under the sea, different lighting configurations, as diverse as up in the atmosphere that people see on ground looking into the sky, seeing UAP. And he also said that, and I quote, "If we've seen so much through the published literature and then the documented accounts recently, then this may just be the tip of the iceberg." And that's really a fascinating perspective. If this phenomena is real, and we have non-human intelligence engaging our planet, our Earth, in our biosphere. I don't know where they come from. Are they native to our planet? Did they come here a million years ago from another planet? Are they just visiting from another planet? Maybe another dimension, as some people speculate. I don't know. But I think he's on to something with that perspective, because if there is a presence here, then what we actually see and experience would be an extremely small percentage of the actual presence. I don't mean to get gross, but it's like if you see a cockroach every now and then, there might be many more hiding in the walls, right? That's not the greatest metaphor, but just bear with me. And so that would be a big part of the shift that our civilization would go through with UAP transparency, UAP disclosure, UAP confirmation, call it what you will, is that common sense would dictate that whatever literature we have on this phenomena, I would argue by necessity has to be the tip of the iceberg. I mean, when you look at the ocean, the sheer mass of the ocean, how little of it has been mapped out, how little of it has been investigated and researched, there could be millions of entities living in our ocean with greater technology than we have in our civilization. How would that impact us in a post-disclosure world, having that knowledge? So about a day ago, Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet dropped the following, I believe on his LinkedIn, and I'll read the entirety of what he wrote. Hard to believe my interview on the Sean Ryan show now has 1 million views. That's the show of which I just showed you a clip from. I think it represents the surge of interest in UAP, previously UFO, since the 2017 story in the New York Times about the United States Department of Defense's UFO program. With my expertise in marine science and technology, I have focused on the observations of these phenomena in the ocean, otherwise known as unidentified submerged objects, USOs. Yesterday, I was invited to testify on UAP disclosure before the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Oversight and Accountability in November. Okay, so it looks like this hearing will happen in November. Not sure if Congress will pass the UAP Disclosure Act sponsored by Leader Schumer and Senator Rounds, but I will make a case for it based on the right of the American people to know that we are not alone and the national security implications of that astonishing reality. So on September 11th, Lou Elizondo was on Vinnie Adams' YouTube channel Disclosure Team. And in the following clip from that interview, he talks about people coming forward. I don't know the full expanse of what he's talking about necessarily, but it does seem to me like he is referencing, at least partly, the upcoming hearing slated for November.
There's going to be some other testimony too at some point here, and not too distant future, which should be very interesting. Probably very public as well, maybe from some whistleblowers potentially. So that's moving down the track as well. I think Burchett had kind of indicated that. Representative Tim Burchett indicated that those conversations were ongoing, and they are planning to do something like that.
So he did mention Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who is part of the effort for the planning and execution of the upcoming UFO hearing with Chairwoman Nancy Mace. Now, I want to cite or quote a portion of what Lou Elizondo said, which is quite intriguing. And I quote, he said, other testimony in the not too distant future should be very interesting, probably very public as well, and maybe from some whistleblowers if I had to guess. So one way we could interpret this is that he is hinting that he'll be testifying at this upcoming hearing. Whether that's the case or not, I don't know, but you could interpret it that way. And the fact that he used the term whistleblowers, that's interesting. Are we going to get people of the caliber of David Grusch? Are we going to get first-hand witnesses from legacy programs who worked on the craft? Well, I don't know. That would obviously be the ideal. Nevertheless, this is looking really interesting, and we have James Fox's documentary, The Program, to look forward to. We have Lou Elizondo's upcoming documentary produced by Dan Farrar that will have other people in it. Supposedly, there'll be some really extraordinary UFO evidence in that documentary. There'll be UFO photos in the documentary of The Program, according to James Fox, from the Calvin incident. That's what I know of because he's mentioned that on Twitter. So there's a lot on the itinerary, if you will. Let's call it the disclosure itinerary. There's a lot on the disclosure itinerary. And I think this upcoming hearing that's slated for November is going to be really important. And I gotta have to share a tweet with you because it really helps to give clarity as to why I'm so enthusiastic about the process we've been going through since October 11th, 2017, that has only accelerated, has not imploded, has not done a U-turn, and looks to only further accelerate. On September 14th, I wrote, "You can't overhype the disclosure process any more than you can overhype disclosure or the wonder that we're not alone." So if you think I'm over optimistic, if you think I overhype, I would just counter that with, well, maybe you're right. But if we are going through the disclosure process, number one, and number two, this will lead to disclosure in our lifetime. And number three, we're not alone. If those three components end up true, then you saying that I'm overhyping anything is just flat out wrong. Explain to me how you could possibly overhype the process leading to 8 billion human beings learning that there's other civilizations smarter than us with better technology that is engaging this world. And that there's a Cold War sub rosa where adversaries in the United States are trying to back engineer this technology quickly to be the first so that they can have an extraordinary advantage over all other competition in this world. And these civilizations may someday introduce themselves in an open contact fashion versus how they've been engaging our world for a very long time, which is covertly, assuming that they exist. Because I'm open that I could be wrong. My only point is that I just don't see a compelling or persuasive argument that drives home the idea that you can overhype the disclosure process if it exists, or that you could overhype disclosure when that happens, or anticipating that will happen if it will happen, or that you could overhype that we're not alone. How could you do that? I don't see it, man. I really just don't see it. In a July 29th, 2023 Breitbart article, shortly after the July 26th hearing occurred with Fravor, Graves, and Grusch, Nancy Mace, who is going to chair one of the upcoming hearings that's going to occur in November, said, if this is really going on, it'll be the biggest story in history, not just U.S. history, but world history, she said, inquiring if these programs exist. And so I think that really puts it in perspective. Maybe I'll end up wrong in the sense that this is not really going on. And I'm okay with that. I wear big boy pants. I can handle being wrong. However, in fairness to me, because you can't have it both ways, if I'm right, then indeed, as Nancy Mace said, this is the biggest story in human history. Not just U.S. human history, but world history. In that light, you can't possibly make a strong argument that the disclosure process, disclosure, and the existence of non-human intelligence in our biosphere can be overhyped. No. It's literally that extraordinary. So seeing it as that extraordinary is simply being tempered, in my opinion. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for spending these 20 minutes with me. It's always lovely to have you along with me. I feel like we're having a picnic. Please do not forget to subscribe. If you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You could become a patron. You could become a YouTube member. You can give me a one-time donation. All those potentialities can be accessed in the description box below, or you could just slap a like on this bad boy, and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Special thanks to all patrons, YouTube members, those that have bought merch, those that have given me a one-time donation. I couldn't do without you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.